My name is David Tal, and this is the BaLaGaN Connection. And today, the BaLaGaN Connection is coming to you from a very special spot. This is a special spot because there's so many things that connect to where I am right now. You can probably see the horse behind my shoulder here. A man sitting on the horse overlooking the valley behind my other shoulder over here. The man sitting on the horse is Alexander Zaid. We'll tell his story here in a minute. The valley behind me is the famous Jezreel Valley, or the Valley of Armageddon. And with a little bit of movement, we can turn the camera over here, and you can see that we're also sitting underneath a mountain range that has a whole story in itself. Behind you is Mount Carmel, and specifically the little knot of stone where Elijah had his showdown with the prophets. And what I would like to do in the next couple minutes is connect all of these different pieces together. Let's start with Alexander. And there's a special reason I chose to come out here and stand here under a statue. Because statues have reasons, statues have a story behind them. In this case, Alexander Zaid, he was a pioneer, came to live here in the 1920s. He was from Russia originally. But he decided that he needs to defend his home. And him, together with the other group of guys, created an organization that was very new for the Jews at the time that was called HaShomer. Their idea was to guard the communities, to guard the farms, to guard their homesteads from people that were trying to do us harm. They became the basis of the Haganah that became the basis of the IDF. And they put his statue here because right across from me right now, in fact, I'm standing right next to the backyard of his home. This is where he lived. This is where he set up shop. He was a pioneer. He was a warrior. He was a guardian, and he was a watchman. And when he was murdered in the 1930s, they decided to put the statue behind me here, overlooking the valley, to remember who he was and what was so important about what he did. Statues play a role. And he's overlooking a very specific valley because behind me here is the valley to end all valleys, if you want to call it this way. And again, I love the way these connections come together because behind me is the famous Jezreel Valley. The famous Jezreel Valley sits at a crossroads between the Via Maris, which is a road that leads from Egypt all the way around the Mediterranean Sea on one side, okay? The way of the Jordan on the far side. This is a main crossroads, which means, and I'll open up a map for you and show you what I mean about this. This is the crossroads of the crossroads that is the Holy Land. If you look up at a geographical map, you're going to see on one side there's Asia, on the other side there's Europe, and underneath us, that means to the south, there's Africa, and we are the connector between all of those continents. But on the edge of the valley, actually in the haze behind me, there's a little hill called Megiddo. Megiddo, hill, Mount Megiddo, Har Megiddo in Hebrew translates into Armageddon in English, which means this valley that is being watched by Alexander Zaid, the watchman, is the place where the armies are going to come together from the north, from the east, from the south. And this is going to be the staging area, according to the book of Revelation, okay, in the valley of Armageddon. It's not by chance that all of these pieces come together. And it's not by chance that if I move over here to the side, you can see the mountain range and the little mountain behind me where another prophet had a very special event that actually reminded all of us what's important. His name was Elijah. And he was a prophet at the time when the kingdom didn't know whether they wanted to be more Jewish, if they wanted to follow the Baals. Anyway, he decided to have a showdown. And he said, according to the Bible in the book of Kings,
"Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil. and licked up the water in the trench. And when all of the people saw this, they fell on their faces and cried, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God."
You would have seen the fire if you were standing here. Again, it's a connection between all these different pieces. Slaughter. So all of these different events come together here, and I want to make one more connection before we kind of finish here. I know you can't see it, but behind me, down in the middle of the valley, is an Israeli Air Force base. All of you have been on tour, have stood up on top of Mount Carmel and seen that Air Force base down there. The name of the Air Force base is Ramat David. Ramat David is Israel's Air Force base. This is the place, okay, where the planes take off and defend the country of Israel. It's not by chance that that Air Force base is situated in the middle of the valley where armies have been fighting over thousands of years. Devorah and the Midianites fought in that valley. Saul and Jonathan fought in that valley against the Philistines. By the way, they lost. I'll give you some more. Napoleon Bonaparte fought in this valley in 1799. The British fought in this valley in World War I. Everybody fought in this valley. And when we set up shop here, when we came back and took over the land, okay, we put our main Air Force base, or one of our main Air Force bases, in the valley below. Again, what I like are the connections, because in 1981, 8 F-16s and a couple other planes took off from this Air Force base and flew out to Iraq. I don't know if anybody of you remember, but in 1981, Israel blew up an Iraqi nuclear reactor. Saddam Hussein, this is before the Desert Storm and all the Desert Shields, Saddam Hussein was actually building a nuclear reactor. Now think about what would have happened during Desert Shield or Desert Storm. I can hear a plane behind me right now. Think what would have happened if Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons. And here's the thing. Israel, always the watchman, flew out to Iraq and blew up that Iraqi nuclear reactor. The world went crazy. You guys are massive. You guys, what are you doing? How can you do something like this? But later on, when everybody understood who Saddam Hussein was, we were very, very happy that he did not. Everybody was very happy that he did not have nuclear weapons. And I think all of these pieces connect. I think it's amazing that all of these events, historical and biblical, take place within eyeshot of where you are right now. That's what makes this so important. That is a connection. And to put it all in context, because maybe this is something that I don't know if you've heard about, but lately things have been blowing up mysteriously in Iran. This time we're not sending F-16s and F-15s to solve the problem. This time there's a little bit of mystery connected to it. Now, I don't know who's doing it. Nobody has actually officially said that it was Israel. But I think standing here in this valley, knowing the battles that have been fought here in the past, knowing what's going on here in the present, and knowing what's going to happen in the future, you understand why we need watchmen to stand over and look out at what's going on. And I'm connecting all of this, especially for you in the States who are going through a very complicated time right now. Look at that watchman. Look at that statue. Statues have a meaning. And I don't know enough about your culture, and I don't know enough about what it means, and I don't know enough about what's going on over there. But I do know that you need watchmen to look over what's going on over there. And one of the main reasons I'm doing this is because it took Elijah on that hill to bring fire down from heaven for the people to realize what was going on. It took this man on the horse to stand here and guard for this amazing country to be reborn the way it was reborn. Okay? It took 9 men or 8 men in F-16s. By the way, one of his names was Ilan Ramon. Again, I love these connections. Ilan Ramon was the Israeli astronaut that died on the Columbia when the Columbia exploded. The Columbia shuttle, NASA's space shuttle, exploded on re-entry. I mean, all of these things connected. And again, what I need for you is to realize that now, in this BaLaGaN that is going on all over the world, You need to be watchmen. You need to stand up. You need to see what's going on, and you need to take action. I'm sharing this with you because I believe we need more watchmen on the hill, looking out over the past, over the present, and over the future. According to the story, when the 8 F-16 pilots returned from Iraq, they read a verse from the book of Joshua that said this. And I'm looking down because I wrote it down there. And Joshua, on the day that the Lord gave him the Ammonites, said in the presence of the Lord, make the sun stand still over Giv'on and make the moon stand still over the valley of Ayalon. I don't know if the sun's going to stand still, but we need people to talk to God, to actually take part in what's going on. We need more watchmen. This is David Tal on a hill with a watchman overlooking Mount Carmel, Valley of Armageddon, and a watchman on the hill. Thank you for joining the BaLaGaN Connection. Hope to see you back here soon.